In the next few videos, we're going to learn about the lowest common multiple. What it is, how you find it, and how to use it. Now, if you had to combine two fractions, 1/4 with 2/5, you would want them to have the same denominator because you can't just add fourths to fifths any more than you can add apples to oranges. So we want to give them both the same denominator, but we want to do that with the least possible work on our part. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 4 and our 5 and we're going to prime factor them. Now to prime factor a number like 4, we see if we can factor it by prime numbers. Now, the first 5 prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. And 11. And those are very useful numbers to have memorized, the first 5 prime numbers. They're going to come in very handy indeed. Now, every number that isn't a prime number is like these can be factored into a combination of prime numbers. So to find out, since 4 isn't a prime number, let's find out which prime numbers it's made up of. So to do that, we're going to start by trying to factor in the smallest of the prime numbers, 2, and that's actually always going to work when you've got an even number. So 2 goes into 4 twice. So the factors here are 2 and 2. And now we've fully factored the 4. And as for 5, well, that's already one of our prime numbers, so we don't have to factor that any further. Now, to get the lowest common multiple, we're going to look at our little rack of prime factors here and see what was the biggest appearance of each one of the prime factors. Well, the biggest appearance of 2 was up here in 4, where it appeared twice. 2 times 2, or 2 squared. And the biggest appearance of 5 was down here in 5, where 5 appeared only once, 5 to the first power. And if we take these two numbers, 2 squared, which is 4, and we multiply that by 5 to the first, or 5, we get 4 times 5, which will give us 20. And 20 is the lowest common multiple of 4 and 5. That's the smallest number into which both 4 and 5 can evenly be divided. So to come up with this, the way I remember this is you look at the prime factors of each number and in their biggest appearance. The biggest appearance of 2 is 2 squared. The biggest appearance of 5 is 5 to the first. And I use the phrase, when everybody does their best, you get the very least. The very best that 2 can do is appear twice, 2 squared. The very best that 5 can do is appear once in these two numbers. So when everybody, here the 2 and the 5, do their very best, that is, turn into a 4 and a 5, then you get the very least common multiple. Now let's use our least common multiple to combine the two fractions. We've got 1, we've got 1/4 and 2/5. We want a 20 in the denominator of both. Well, we know that 20 is made out of 4 times 5, so let's multiply our 4 by 5, and that'll give us a 20 over here. But the only way we can get away with multiplying the denominator by 5 is if we multiply the numerator by 5 as well. Because when we multiply our whole fraction, 1/4, by 5/5, that's the same as multiplying it by 1, because 5/5 is just another way of writing 1. When we multiply something by 1, we may, or some equivalent of 1, we will change the form of the fraction, but not the meaning. So 5/5 times 1/4, well, in the numerator, 5 times 1 will give us a 5, and 5 times 4 in the denominator will give us a 20. So that's half of our problem solved. Now, to turn 2/5 into something over 20, well, how are we going to turn 5 into 20? We know that 20 is made out of 4 times 5. We've already got the 5. So let's multiply that by 4. And once again, if we multiply the denominator by 4, we're allowed to do so only if we multiply the numerator by the same, because multiplying 2/5 by 4/4 is the same as multiplying it by 1. Now, multiplying across, 2 times 4 will give us 8, and 5 times 4 will give us the 20 we were after. So now we've got 5/20 and 8/20. And when we combine these two, 5 plus 8 is 13, and this is 13/20, which is the answer we were after.